Forgiveness is definitely the hardest lesson a soul has to learn on its journey to expand, but that's why it's also the most important. So in this video, we're going to talk about how you need to unchain yourself from that past and really rise into your future. Welcome, it's Lisa Roulette, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. If you haven't already liked, commented, or shared any of my videos, please do so because it helps me to grow the channel. And if you really dig what I'm putting down, definitely hit the subscribe button because you will get notified every time I release a new video. Now, this video is super important if you really want to succeed in this new earth, this new dawn that we're all going through. As you know, we are going through an ascension, an expansion. We are opening to higher levels of awareness. We are moving from a very 3D, very dense world through 4D into a 5D world. If that intimidates you or scares you or you think something is going to happen that's super dramatic, it really doesn't work that way. It is a relatively gradual transition. And remember, if you watched my last video, you know that as we move through dimensions, they're not places in time. We're not showing up somewhere else. It is an awareness. And in the fifth dimension, we start to remember who we really are as creators and healers of our life experience. And as we practice the powers of healing and creation, we also remember that we are one, divinely connected from and through one source. And that is so important to start to marinate if you haven't already gotten there, but really start to throw that around in your awareness because that's what's going to help lift you into that more glorious state of living where as we ascend and expand our consciousness, we are literally bringing heaven down to earth. It is a much lighter way of living and it is a much more beautiful way of living. And we can be more successful and we can be more abundant in the fifth dimension. So, unfortunately, you are not going to be able to reach those heights of expansion and get through your ascension journey until you start to forgive. Now, who are you forgiving? Well, for the most part, we forgive our offenders, but there is this notion of also forgiving yourself. I don't think that you need to spend a whole lot of time on it, but ask yourself, is there anything I need to forgive myself for? I have forgiven myself for many things over the years. One of the things I had to forgive myself for was the process of forgetting. Like, why did I forget that I came from one direct source and I am intricately connected to you and everything else that exists. So I went through a process of forgiveness and I really had to let that go so that I could rise above. If you really struggle, there is a specific process that I personally use and it's in the little book of forgiveness, which is in the description of this video below. So you can grab that if you need some extra help. But today we're going to talk a little bit more about the importance of forgiveness. If you've watched my last couple of videos, I talk about an infinite loop of creation or how things manifest in our life experience. It works along a continuum that looks like an infinity loop, a lot like this. This is how meaningful it is to me. I wear one around my neck. And it begins with our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs, and our feelings. And our thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and feelings travel along a loop. And when they come out into a collective energetic field, a collective consciousness, they look for like frequencies, they spark creation, and they come back and mirror back to us at this sort of 0 point as our reality. There are so many things that go into that right side of that loop, those thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and feelings. If one of your thoughts is based in a grudge or one of your feelings are one of shame, remorse, regret, grief, confusion, or general dis-ease about someone else hurting you, then you got a problem. You are essentially compromising an energetic grid structure that is your consciousness unfolding, that is your magnet for everything that you're going to experience in your life. And this is very dangerous. It's like pushing ourselves into a battle that we don't have to fight. Just because you have someone to forgive doesn't mean that you weren't a victim. We have all been victims. Some of us have been victims of unexplainable crimes and physical abuse and mental torture, and others maybe not so much. But all of us have been victimized in some way. But remember, wearing the victim's cloak is very, very heavy. Just because we've been victimized doesn't mean we have to continue to play the role of victim over and over again. In fact, if we do, we really compromise our energetic integrity, but also our spiritual immunity, our ability to be able to respond to certain situations at a very high vibration. So when we are not immune to certain things, what ends up happening is we get infected, sort of like a virus, like an energetic virus that pulls our awareness down, contracts our awareness, contracts it so that we can perceive less, which is why we stay in those states of grief, remorse, regret, shame, and we hold grudges. But remember, this is a battle that you don't have to fight because you have supreme authority over your right side of your loop. This is where all of your authority is. Remember, don't give it to social media. Don't give it to your victimizer. Don't give it to mass media. You take supreme authority over what you think, what you emote, what you believe, and what you feel. If on this right side you are holding grudges, what essentially you're doing is you're giving power over to what we know as the negative ego. And the negative ego can be extremely dangerous because it thinks in either a superior or an inferior mind. And this is really important to start to understand if you don't already. The superior mind is an angry mind. It's an entitled mind. It's an aggressor. It wants people to suffer so that it can thrive in some way. A lot of narcissists have a superior mind. The inferior mind, also very dangerous. It's that mind that says, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, I'm not deserving, I'm not powerful. And both of those minds will always compromise the energetic grid structure that is your manifestation template for you to be able to experience reality. Now, the choice for you is, will you stay in a very dense three-dimensional reality that feels very stuck and very separate and very hard? It's almost like banging through a door for any form of abundance, whether you're talking about abundance of health, abundance of financial resources, or abundance of overall well-being. It's feeling sort of very stuck, like you just can't get through to achieve the abundance, the success that you're seeking. But when we care for our energetic grid structure and we build spiritual immunity, what happens is that right side of our loop becomes significantly more integrous or strong, and we become significantly more resilient or immune to certain situations, circumstances, and people that hold a particular frequency that we can then form boundaries so that those vibrations no longer compromise us. If you allow this right side of your creation, of your loop, to remain compromised, what ends up happening is you attract low vibrational frequencies regardless. And those low vibrational frequencies show up first as situations, circumstances, events, and people. For instance, if you are holding a grudge against someone who demonstrated that love was very difficult or that love was not trustworthy, then it's very likely you are attracting subpar, toxic, or painful, or no relationships at all into your life. That's because that energetic grid structure is compromised, and the low vibrational frequencies of mistrust, shame, remorse, regret, grief, and grudges is really bringing you down and compromising you. So we need to let that go. In the meantime, if we don't heal it, what ends up happening is that it will manifest physically. Now, a lot of my clients have battled with heart disease, lung cancer, breast cancer. Why? Well, because the heart chakra is what governs our relationships, and the heart chakra governs the chest, breast, and lungs. So it's not just about rising into your future to create that abundance in life, love, financial resources, and overall well-being. It's about prevention and overall well-being, longevity, vitality, youth, and freedom from confusion and dis-ease in the physical body. So you see how very important forgiveness is, whether you're forgiving yourself or forgiving another. It is an ongoing place of self-mastery. That's really what we're going for. Now, through the process of rising, expanding through the ascension journey, the movement through different dimensions, you're trying to achieve not the superior or the inferior mind. We need to let those go and come into a neutral mind that is much more heart-based, that understands that forgiveness is the only way, but it's also not concerned with the individual. It is concerned more with the I am presence, the I am God and sovereign and free awareness, the presence that knows it is a creator and a healer. And so it doesn't necessarily have to label and judge situations, circumstances, events, or people, but it has more compassion and empathy for the offender, the transgressor, the repressor, or whomever has hurt you, knowing that its job is to keep the frequency high and send the frequency out through its infinite loop of creation so that it is healing to the collective, and it will ultimately mirror back as healing in the reality. Extremely important. And remember, what the ultimate objective of self-mastery is not just the abundance. It's not just the financial abundance, the physical health and well-being, and the abundance of love. It is harmony. It is the reconciliation of the wrong and right, the day and night, the black and white, all of the polarity. It is the eternal understanding of the God presence, the I am presence, the source, the divinity that is in us all, that is one, that requires no separation whatsoever. When you can master that, you'll be ascending into dimensions that you never dreamed possible. That's where all the abundance is, in that awareness. But it is absolutely 100% impossible to achieve if you have not forgiven.